Hey, Robert here. Welcome to my live training. How you doing today? You're checking online to see who comes through on the chat. I'm looking forward to interacting with you as we go on. But in the meantime, grab yourself a coffee or even a piece of chocolate. And let's talk about confidence, calm, and those moments where everything feels a bit too much. Now, my cat Leo might wander in from time to time, but don't mind him. He's just here for a little bit of moral support. But you're here because something inside you says it's time to feel stronger again. Maybe you've gone through some tough situations. Maybe you've lost confidence after dealing with conflict or stress or even unsafe interactions. Or maybe you're just tired of holding it all together while wondering, when do I get to feel calm again? That's why I created this training, to walk you through 5 simple moves, but powerful moves, that can help you shift from fear and second guessing to clarity, calm, and confidence. These moves are grounded, they're practical, and they're trauma aware. They're not about forcing change. They're about remembering the strength that's already there. Now, if you've ever wondered or ever felt like certain situations or certain people pull you away from your confidence or your voice, you're not alone. This short video is here to help you reconnect with your inner strength and begin feeling calm and in control again, one small step at a time. I'm just going to share my screen with you now and we're going to work through this together. So hopefully this works. Let's try it. Let's start with the first move. Reclaim inner strength. We often think we've lost our strength. But what if? What if it's not lost? What if it's just buried under layers of fear, stress, or past experiences that made us doubt ourselves? That strength is still there. Sure, sometimes quiet, sometimes even hidden, but always waiting to rise. I've met so many people who have said things like, I used to be confident. I used to trust myself. Or I used to speak up. One woman I worked with, she described feelings like she was walking through life on eggshells, always trying to keep the peace, even when it meant losing herself in the process. She said she didn't even recognize her own voice anymore. But once she began reconnecting with that strength, bit by bit, things began to shift. She started setting small boundaries, using her voice again, and trusting her gut. And she told me, it felt like I was coming home to myself, were her words. Beautiful. That's what the first move is all about. Not changing who you are, but rediscovering who you were meant to be. If you've ever felt like you've lost your voice or strength, just type, "That's me," in the comments. You're not alone. And sometimes just saying it, or typing it in this case, helps open that door. Ready for move 2? Understand conflict clearly. Most people think conflict is about aggression or yelling, but often it's about misunderstanding, unmet needs, stress responses, and personal pain spilling into shared spaces. When we understand how conflict actually works, we stop taking it personally and we stop being afraid of it. We begin to see it for what it is, a reaction, a pattern, sometimes even a cry for connection. And once that shift happens, once we shift and see how conflict clearly, truly is, it becomes easier to stay grounded, to choose how we respond. I actually want to share a quick message. This is one I got from a participant of my program, Brian. Bear with me, I have it written down. He wrote, "I used to think conflict was something to avoid. But once I understood the patterns and stress responses behind it, I stopped taking it so personally and started feeling in control again." Love it. Thanks, Brian. That shift from fear to clarity is what the second move is all about. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and only later thought of what you wish you would have said? If so, drop a thumbs up in the chat. You're in good company. Let's move on to move 3. Gain tools for real-world response. Knowing how to respond verbally or physically changes everything. I don't mean shouting louder or learning fancy moves. I mean knowing what you can do in the moment to stay safe, clear, and calm. One woman I worked with told me she always froze when someone raised her voice at her, even when she wasn't in physical danger. Her body just shut down. But she'd leave the situation feeling like she lost her voice in the process. And she is certainly not alone in this. What helped her wasn't a complicated technique. It was one grounding breath and a simple phrase she practiced ahead of time. She would say this: "Please speak to me with respect, or I need to step away." And she practiced that until it felt natural. That one sentence gave her permission to stay in control of herself. Because conflict isn't the enemy, not when we know how to face it and how to respond with clarity. But the truth is, most conflicts aren't physical. But when it truly comes to navigating conflict, any type of conflict, whether it's tense conversation or situation that could escalate, having tools is only part of the equation. The other part is understanding how your mind and body react when we feel threatened or unsafe. And that's where we're heading next. Let's talk about setting boundaries without fear. Let's learn to set boundaries without fear. It's about discovering how to stand your ground, respectfully, without guilt or second guessing. A lot of people think boundaries are just about words, but boundaries also live in our bodies, in our presence, and in the space that we hold. Let me give you a real-world example. A woman I spoke to works in a very busy restaurant. And every now and then, there's that one guy. You know the type. He leans in too close, makes deliberate physical contact, or makes her feel cornered. She doesn't want to lose the tip. She doesn't want to cause a scene. So she smiles, brushes it off, and goes into a fawn response. Not because she's okay with it, but because she's been conditioned to keep the peace. Eventually, we worked on a calm but assertive response, something she could say without escalating the situation, but still reclaiming her space. She practiced this. I understand you're just trying to be friendly, but I didn't appreciate that. Please respect my space so I can do my job. She said it once, calmly, and it worked. The energy shifted because she didn't shrink. She didn't lash out. She stood her ground with clarity. See, when we learn to respond calmly and clearly, we also learn something just as important: how to stand our ground without fear. And that's where this move is all focused around: protecting your peace, your body, your boundaries, without guilt and without apology. If setting boundaries is something you're still working on, maybe in work, relationships, or even just with yourself, type working on it in the comments. That simple act can be in the first step towards reclaiming your space. But let's move on to the final step, move 5. Rise with resilience. Step forward with strength, ready to face life with clarity, courage, and confidence. After everything we've talked about so far, reclaiming strength, understanding conflict, gaining tools and setting boundaries, this final move is about how we bring it all together into our daily lives. Not as a perfect version of ourselves, not by pretending to be fearless, but by standing in who we are, flaws and strengths, stories and all, and choosing to move forward. Resilience isn't about toughing it out. It's not about pushing through no matter what. It's about adapting, recovering, rising again and again with more clarity, more calm, and more self-trust. For some people, this move is subtle. It is a shift in posture or a deeper breath before responding. For others, it's huge. It's walking away from something toxic or finally believing I'm not the problem. One woman who completed the program shared this with me. Her name is Rachel, and I'd like to read her words directly. For years, I thought I was the problem. Every time things escalated, I blamed myself. I didn't understand why certain words, looks, or even silence could set off something so destructive. A.S.P.I.R.E helped me see what really was happening, how violence builds, what fuels it, and why it's not my fault. It didn't just give me the tools to feel safe again. It gave me language for things I couldn't explain before. Now, I recognize the signs. I trust my instincts, and I know how to respond with strength and calm. That's one realization, that I was never weak. I was just trying to survive. Changed everything. Powerful. That's what rising with resilience really is. Not becoming something new, but remembering who you are and walking forward in your power. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. That quiet pull to feel strong again, to feel safe in your own voice, your own space, your own self. It's real and it's valid. If you're feeling ready to take the next step, or even just explore what this path might look like, please stay connected here in the group. You're also welcome to book a free 30-minute consult with me if you'd like to talk it through. I'll place a link in the comment. But wherever you're at right now, just know this: you are not broken. You're not weak. You were surviving, and now you're learning how to rise. You can feel strong again. You can feel calm, and you don't have to do it alone. Now, was there a particular move that spoke to you the most? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this training. But for now, let's call it a day. I'm Robert Norton, and thank you for being here. I hope to hear from you soon. All the best.